All right, we love guitar nerds. We're hello, Eric Wirsing, Mr. Eric Wirsing. Where are you living now, Eric?
I live in Lebanon, New Jersey.
Okay, so Lebanon, New Jersey.
Yes. You're probably like, where is that?
Where is Lebanon, New Jersey?
Most people know Clinton or Annandale, New Jersey. It's basically if you're going on 78, the highway.
Yeah.
You go through the PA border, and probably about 20 minutes after that is
All
where
right.
Lebanon is. Yeah.
All
So
right.
it's like, I guess you'd consider that North Jersey,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Yeah.
So you come from a background of what, 80s music, but you like kind of grew up in the grunge era, correct?
You have a good point there. It's interesting. I'm kind of like stuck. And actually, I think there's a name for my generation. You may kind of be in the same one. I think it's called Zennials.
You
maybe?
are. I'm Generation X.
Oh,
I'm Kurt Cobain.
I was born in 1977, so I was like, and actually,
yes, I
77
I
Star
saw
Wars.
Star Wars in the movie theater when it was new. I didn't understand any of it because I was like, what, 9 years old.
Yeah.
But,
well, I guess I was born right at the end of Gen X,
Yep.
and millennials haven't started yet. So there's kind of like this little micro generation. But yeah, I'm not really completely an 80s child, but not really completely a 90s child either.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I remember most of this. My earliest memories of music were, starting piano at 5. Because my mom's an opera singer, so she had me start on piano. Then I moved to violin for a little while, drums, and then at 12 I found the guitar. And I remember my brother had the 5150 album by Van Halen, and I'd steal that from him, and I'd listen to that.
So that's your introduction to Van Halen.
Yeah, but then later on, of course,
my
friend Mark let me borrow Van Halen 1, and then I was like, done.
Yeah.
But I remember like kind of seeing a lot of the 80s stuff, like Van Halen, and seeing like MTV and everything that was on there, like Firehouse and Rat. But then I was like halfway in between that was, and then later on, actually, in that little era was like Guns N' Roses and Metallica, and then grunge came out, and I don't think I had graduated high school by that time. I was almost about to. I also remember during that time, that's when I started to hear cars that had like massive subwoofers in them. Like you'd hear them driving down the road and be like.
So that's when you were introduced to hip hop music.
Yes. Well, at least the whole trend of like putting a subwoofer in your car that you can hear for like a mile away. But yeah, so I was like halfway in between like the later 80s and like the grunge era, and I lived in Olympia, Washington, which was like grunge central. So doing this,
they laughed at you.
Like people were like, I hate that stuff, and then I at that point did not like grunge. Later on in my life, of course, I came to really like love grunge, like Nirvana and Alice in Chains and stuff like that. But back then I would just like, it's not, the guitar solos aren't like,
You're not blazing. You're not sweet.
So 80s, I remember all that. I think I remember listening to the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album by Van Halen when it came out, or Steve Vai's Alien Love Secrets when I was living in Colorado for a short time in like 1995, I think that was. So yeah, I think I kind of answered your question to some extent.
So you're in between the hair metal generation, and you're right at the cusp at those two coming of age of when grunge is growing up. kind of.
Yeah, and as you can see, I wouldn't fit into the hair metal genre very well.
Actually,
Because,
yeah, you just put tattoos on the side of your head
yeah,
and
but there's
grow.
no hair. You have to have hair to be
You
in
gotta
hair
look like
metal,
you've
right?
done jail time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, so earliest musical stuff happened. Like, take me back to when you were a kid.
I think the only thing if you want me to go back really early, I remember having this plastic like record player that my parents got that you could play like Disney, like Mickey Mouse and Goofy, like records on, you know.
Mhm.
I remember that. I remember my mom always listening to classical music when I was growing up.
Mhm.
And then I remember like having the radio on, like when I was doing my homework, and there'd be stuff like what is it called? Wildest Dreams by the Moody Blues
Yeah. Mhm.
and like Richard Marx. That was the stuff that was on the radio.
Satisfied.
Those are like, yeah. And then I remember my first album that I had to talk my mom into letting me get was the first Motley Crue album. And that was for me, it was like, oh man,
You're like 7
like,
years old, 8 years old.
yeah, that was like very naughty music to listen to.
How were your parents
And
to rock and roll?
my parents, you know, I think my mom being a musician, she could see like when a band was like a, you know, good, like she could tell like Eddie Van Halen was a talented musician and she
Yeah.
thought he was very good.
Mhm.
But she would give me her opinion about other bands that maybe weren't so talented and they were mainly like kind of more of a gimmick, you know.
Okay.
But my mom was somewhat open to that. I think,
Yeah.
you know, when you have a kid who's like 8 and they're getting into like, that would be the listening to Motley Crue back then
Mhm.
was like the equivalent of these days listening to like Cardi B, to like if you were like 8 years old.
See,
I
I
mean,
don't even know. I guess so. I don't even know if there is a modern equivalent.
yeah, maybe not. Something that makes
Yeah.
your parents uncomfortable and they're not sure how it'll affect you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Cardi B will do that.
But my opinion though is none of this music. That's not the main influence on kids.
Yeah.
It's you know, their parents and the people who are in their family and
Yeah.
around them all the time. They mimic them, you
Yeah.
know. So you know, because now we look back and it's like people worried that like Motley Crue and like what was it, Wasp,
Yeah.
that you know they worship the devil and stuff.
Yeah.
And now we look back and that's kind of ridiculous, you know, like
Yeah.
Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
I mean, now we look back and we're like I don't think that the devil is really.
Knights and Satan's service.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like a polite little Jewish boy. That's what he was.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are my earliest memories, and you know, seeing my mom practice for like
Mhm.
operas and stuff like that. You know, she'd spend like 4 months before practicing every day,
Mhm.
you know, and that's on top of having kids and, you know, job and making dinner and stuff like that.
She
And
was always an educator.
um, I think when she initially got out of college, you know, she went for like a master's in piano and voice. I think she was trying to make a living in music as an opera singer. But then my brother and I happened, and she kind of put that on the side for a long time. But then as we got older, she tried to do, you know, more operas again. But you know, it's I think just, you know, when you have kids, it's difficult to do that for a lot of people, you know,
Yeah.
especially if you're making food and shopping and
So
stuff
yeah,
like that.
multitasking.
But yeah,
Like
I mean
ridiculous
those,
multitasking.
yeah. Well, and I remember, you know, fast forward a little bit, past, you know, trying out a few instruments, and I think I had a guitar teacher, but then I found a guy named Kevin Wire, you know, out. I think he teaches still actually at Music 6000 in Olympia, Washington.
Okay.
You could probably still look him up there.
Okay.
But he really inspired me when I started.
So
He
that
was
was your
playing
gateway
rock.
teacher.
Yeah,
That
he
was
really made me want to play guitar, and then all my friends took from him, and it kind of became like a little group of people. And
so what was the difference between Kevin? Did you have earlier teachers?
yeah, there was a guy, I remember I went in for a lesson, and he had like an acoustic guitar, and he put a Berkeley method book in front of me. And I almost quit after 3 months. I just didn't practice or anything.
I'm surprised it took you 3 months.
I probably could have quit after about one, but it was just, it didn't inspire me, and it didn't make me I didn't have fun. And that taught me that with teachers,
Mhm.
you know, the way I teach, and I think you're the same way, that, you know, at the beginning of someone taking lessons, unless they're into like just looking at a book, some people go well with that. But I think for me, I needed to be inspired and to have fun to kind of give me a boost at the beginning, you know.
Mhm.
And however, though, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for teachers to do that. And I don't think they do it with bad intentions. I think they
think they're being responsible.
yeah, and they want to get you started on like reading music and those kind of things. But I do think that there's a inspirational balance that you have to have with younger kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
Well, the other part of this is what are the survival skills that guitar players need? What does this kid want to do? What makes him on fire?
yeah, you
Is
really have to like assess their
Is
personality.
he going to play in an orchestra where he has to learn how to read music with all these other musicians?
Yeah,
No, he will never get that gig.
yeah,
He will never get that. If he's lucky enough, he'll do like Bohemian Rhapsody and he'll do the solo, but he's not sight reading the solo. It's memorized.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and see, not to say all those skills are good to have, because I mean, I
Yeah, but
think
it's when to teach them is what we're talking about. That's not
that's
right out the gate. You don't teach them. You don't. That's the way my teacher,
yeah,
my upbringing was the same way. That was my
yeah.
upbringing, and it was horrible.
It's like an older style of teaching, you
Mhm.
know, and I think just with
They thought that to their credit, they figured they were being responsible in the way they taught,
yeah,
but it's not. No.
yeah, and a method book to me as a teacher means I can turn my brain off and not
Mhm.
really have to teach.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't use a method book, that means I have to be like really listening to what my student, I have to pay attention to what mood my student's in, kind of assess what they need at that time,
Mhm.
and then also remember what I taught them the last time and how to add on to that. With a method book, all I have to do is remember page 10. Boom.
Mhm.
I do supplement with some method books on certain different things, but it's
Mhm.
never like, it's not like my teaching method.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I had a memory pop into my head. This is one of my most cherished early memories of Van Halen and guitar.
All right.
Would you like to hear it?
Absolutely.
So this was again in my house in Olympia. I was back in the rec room. I had just learned Running with the Devil from Kevin, actually. And I had this made in Taiwan, Fender Strat copy. It was like red on the outside and white pickguard. I wish I knew where that was, but I think it's probably in a landfill by now. But I remember learning Running with the Devil, and I couldn't get that part that was where you hammer on, because it's difficult, like when you first begin to like hammer on a chord, like two
Mhm.
fingers at the same time. And I remember being in that back room with our tube TV, just working over and over again on trying to get that.
Mhm.
And I remember I got it that night. And that was just like a really cherished memory of mine, you know. To get that hammer on,
Yeah.
you know. And as you know, playing guitar is all those little baby steps that you
Mhm.
accomplish, just
Mhm.
inspires you for the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to
No,
put
no,
that
no.
memory out
You
there.
don't apologize. That's the fire. That's the thing
Yep.
that what I often tell students, we got to get you an experience that you can do this. Okay, because they come in pretty sure they can't.
Yeah.
This is kind of like, I want to see if I can do it. I hope I can do it. But yes, you can. Is most people aren't that arrogant or that full of confidence that they're full in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yes, you can do this. You got to get a success story underneath your belt, and that carries you through the tough times. The tough times. So when did you start playing with people?
That's another good question. Actually, do you mind if I address something you just said though?
Go ahead.
Like, I think that you know, students doubting themselves is, I'm sure you see it all the time. Like, they don't understand muscle memory and how it works.
Mhm.
That, you know, you can't do something at the beginning, but if you're like work at it for a week, you start to get more familiar and better, and you can eventually accomplish stuff you never would have imagined
Mhm.
you can accomplish.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I think you made a good point there.
Mhm.
But as far as, I think your question was
When did you start
when I
playing with
first
people?
started playing with people. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple people I had played with, like my friend Brian and Mark. They were all part of that group with Kevin, you know, my first teacher. And
Mhm.
there's actually, I think it's on YouTube somewhere.
You gotta post. You gotta give it to me.
I'm sure Mark will hear this and he'll attach it. So I'll try to find that for you. But it's basically my first performance in 7th grade. I think
Mhm.
I'd been playing guitar for about 6 months. And back then I actually had, I mean, people think of me as a big guy, but at that point I was not that big. I had not gone through a growth spurt. So I wasn't small, but I wasn't a big person. And I had like long hair. I once had hair,
Mhm.
and I kind of had a mullet. It wasn't a hardcore mullet though. It was a very pretty mullet actually.
Oh, great.
It wasn't too bad, but you'll see if you see the video.
Yes, I will see the video.
Those were cool back then though, and they're coming back now actually.
That's disturbing.
Yes, it is. But everything's cyclical. But so I remember, I think it was the high school talent show, and there was 5 of us, and we played "Smoking in the Boys' Room" and "Louie Louie." And I remember "Smoking in the Boys' Room" was like, and then we played that one, and then "Louie Louie," which I remember was like, and then we played the
You're
solo.
talking about
Like,
7th grade?
yep.
Mhm.
I barely remember that little line.
Mhm.
So that was, I think we played one other song other than that, but I remember that was the first big show. And in, you know, Eric style, of course, I step out from my solo and I pull the cord out of my amp
Of course.
during my solo. So I'm like, why
That
do
never
we
happened.
sound?
That never happened again, did it?
I've made other, not that particular one, but I made other just mistakes that are different.
Okay.
You can never, and no matter how much you prepare, something new comes up.
Yeah.
But I remember I had to walk back, put it in, and then I kept playing. That was my first performance. And then I think then my next one was a talent show in high school when I think I was like 14. I played Eruption into the Crossroads solo
Okay.
from you know, with Steve Vai. Then
Oh,
I
Eugene
did an
Tragic
Eddie Van Halen.
Trick Bag.
Yeah, the whole
Yep.
and I remember at the end I did a Eddie Van Halen scissor kick, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I had these purple jeans on, which were big back then. I didn't win or anything, but that led to my first band. Some older dudes in the audience saw me, and they were like much more popular than I was. I wasn't popular at all at that point, and I would never consider myself popular, but anyways, they were pretty well known, and they were like 21 and 20, and they're like, "Hey man, you got to be in our band." And so I got in a band with way older dudes, and we had all sorts of fun.
All right.
I experienced many things that I probably shouldn't have experienced at that age,
All
but
right.
it was a learning experience. We played at parties and stuff like that. And then, I didn't get in a band till I went to Berkeley after that.
Okay.
What
was the set? What was the set list like?
It was like couple Van Halen songs, of course. Like Firehouse, Skid Row.
All right.
What would be some other ones? The Scorpions. So like,
Yeah.
And then the Zoo, I think, was another song we did. There was a bunch, but the singer though, I remember there was Jason on drums and Adam on bass, me on guitar, and there was another rhythm guitarist for a while, but he didn't practice like I thought he should. So I mean, he was older than me and probably could have completely kicked my butt, but I would just get on his butt when he didn't practice or know something. I think I almost got myself beat up a few times doing that. I just wasn't thinking about the fact that he was a little older than me and probably could pummel me. But
yeah. Watch your steps, son.
yeah, exactly. But
What was the name of this band?
I don't remember the name, actually. I was trying to think about that, but I remember the singer, Luke. He was a very good singer. I think one of his family members was in Nazareth.
Okay.
I can't remember much else than that, but he's actually in a couple bands now still. But man, he could sing high. Very good singer.
Yeah.
And I always remember that part. I don't know if the other guys in the band are really doing anything anymore. I keep in touch with Luke a little bit, and I think I kept in touch with Jason.
You left town? You moved?
No, I
quit.
We kind of ended it after like I think a year or two, and then I finished out high school. But then at the end of high school, I kind of started to get into some trouble, and my parents were like, "Okay, we got to do something." So they sent me to Colorado to live with my aunt for 6 months to finish high school, and
All right.
it kind of got me out of some of the stuff I was doing.
Okay.
I don't think I was doing anything too bad, but I'm glad they did that because it was kind of a learning experience for me. It kind of got me refocused on the guitar. Then I went back home and was like, all right, if I want to go to Berkeley, I better start practicing my butt off, So then I kind of got into that phase and then went off to Berkeley.
Was there a lapse between when you graduated from high school? Did you go the following fall to Berkeley?
No, I think I had about a year. I took a year to, just like work and do some stuff.
Now, how good were your reading chops?
They were completely abysmal.
Okay.
I'm not a terrible reader now, but
Yeah.
I would not say I'm like the best reader in the world.
Yeah.
But I can sight read okay. I was just starting to learn how to sight read for a guitar at that point. But yeah, most guitar players that go to Berkeley aren't very good at reading.
Yeah.
But I think it's a skill
that can be developed, obviously.
Yeah. The thing is the modern guitar is kind of stuck in a weird place with sight reading because, normal music notation is kind of geared more towards like the classical approach.
Or jazz.
Because how can you sight read something that Steve Vai plays?
How do you sight read how he uses his whammy bar?
Yeah.
How do you notate nuance?
Or even like fast tapping passages. Even Steve Vai has to practice that passage like 1,000 times
Yeah.
before he can play it without thinking. How could you sight read something like that? So sight
The
reading, I think,
irony
would
is,
be,
the irony is
yeah,
Steve Vai is one of the people that came up with a system of notation to notate that stuff,
yeah,
but nobody can read it. Because like he even
yeah,
whammy bar, he even notating whammy bar. He's when he was working for Zappa,
yeah.
he came up with all this stuff, and it's the eruption he did. I remember the one Guitar Magazine he did. He transcribed it.
I remember that.
He's probably the
I remember
only
that.
only rock guitar player of our generation who was a reader.
I don't, I think I really am amazed by Steve Vai. Just the fact that he has such a unique style, and I mean, he plays technique wise at the highest level. He's also an incredible entertainer. But the amount of musicianship that guy has is incredible.
Mhm.
And I don't think people realize, like, I mean, I think most people realize he's a very, very good guitar player,
Mhm.
but I don't think they even know the extent of it, like, but still, you know, um, like a guy like Yngwie Malmsteen and Joe Satriani, like Yngwie, it's hard to compare any of those guys. They're
You
all
can't.
their own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but what
But
I will say about Yngwie, I think Yngwie is easier to cop than Randy Rhoads or um, Steve Vai, because
yeah,
Yngwie has a very, his sound is very, he doesn't grasp at many different influences. He just Vai's all over the place. That's why his stuff is so colorful.
I think I thought about that, and again, Yngwie is kind of coined like the neoclassical genre. Can you imagine creating a genre?
Yeah.
But I think the thing that Yngwie kind of got trapped in a little bit, and I think it's difficult to find your way out of it. Is with that neoclassical genre that he does. It's very much based off of the harmonic minor scale, and there's only so much you can do with that particular scale.
Yeah. There's only so much we want to listen to.
Yeah. But and I talk a lot to my students about where that came from. What is the harmonic minor scale?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that, Renaissance and medieval music, they were all modal, like stuff like,
Mhm.
that's like modal, where you have this cadence of 5, 1. You hear that in music all the time.
Mhm.
In the Ionian mode, the major scale,
Mhm.
you have a major 5 to a major 1, right?
Mhm.
Strongest in music. There's
Yeah.
no other scale or mode even like that.
Mhm.
The problem was the minor modes. They
Yeah.
all had a minor chord as that 5-1 cadence. And then like Bach, see, Renaissance and medieval, they were kind of trapped in that sound, and they have the particular sound of that music. Bach was like, I'm going to modify stuff.
Yeah, let's make that 5 chord a major.
Exactly. And so he raised that 7th note up to,
Yeah.
and that gave you the major 5, 1. But also melodic minor is the same thing, but with Dorian. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's that raised 7, and it gives you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know that the Phrygian mode was altered as well, creating. There's the flat 7th again.
Mm-hmm.
You raise that. You get the Neapolitan minor.
Mm-hmm. Which is just the Phrygian with a major 7.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But they were just modifications to the minor modes of the major scale, and it created all sorts
Phrygian
of new
dominant.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phrygian dominant.
Yeah, is that the one from the harmonic minor scale?
Yeah, the mode of the harmonic. The major
Yeah,
third.
yeah. So
That's like a Phrygian with a major third.
yeah, exactly.
So,
But anyways, I don't know how we got into that tangent.
so how important is music theory?
Um, that's an interesting question to answer. I think maybe back in like the 80s, you had to know a little bit, but we were kind of still emerging from like blues rock, where that music was born out of not knowing tons of music theory. It was a totally organic thing. Did it help to know some music theory? Yeah. But a lot of those players didn't know any music theory. They were just playing what they felt and what they heard and what was under their fingers.
They say that, like guys like George Lynch, he
Yeah.
says that, but he's always in key.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
there's
it could be
elements
muscle
of music,
memory.
huh?
It could be just muscle memory. They know a certain
Well, muscle
pattern
memory,
works.
but it's like, how do you know what fret to put your finger on to play in key? You have to.
Yeah.
He has a music theory. He has a theory. It might not have been taught to him, but it's not like every time he goes out on stage, it's a guessing game.
Well, if you look at Jimi Hendrix, a lot of people may think that he doesn't know any music theory, but how does he know triad inversions then?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
those are all chord inversions.
Yeah.
Somebody must have taught him triads and triad inversions. So
yep.
they may not know the formal names of them, but
like
they've learned.
The cage system Hendrix is all about. It was like, which he got from Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
He learned all those chord things that he got from Curtis Mayfield. That is, when we study it, we talk about the cage fingerings and how Hendrix did it. But it's like, yeah, I don't think he's innocent either. He's not. People say they don't know any music theory. You play in key. It doesn't sound horrible.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a professional, it can't be a guessing game.
Well, and it goes to show you, if you practice a lot and you have a good ear, I don't think you have to know a bunch of music theory to be a good player, but I don't see why a player would not want to know anything that they could add to their toolbox. But I do think, you hear Eddie Van Halen saying all the time, like, well, I don't really know any music theory. He had to have known some because
he doesn't know what he knows.
He took classical piano for like years and he won contests.
Yes. Yeah.
He had to know certain amounts of things, but still, it's a different game now. Like that stuff's been done. We need to build upon that. So it's like these days, you kind of need to know some music theory. But again, I think where the problem lies is a lot of people, there's a stigma that, music theory is like this collegiate, like elite thing, and I think it's probably perpetuated a little bit by maybe there's some musicians that go to college who are just butt heads and they want to make other people feel bad, maybe because they couldn't go to college. Yeah, and then they shouldn't. They should, in my opinion, they shouldn't do that. And
of course,
I don't think someone is below like another guitarist because like we're talking about a lot of the best guitar players that we like Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix and all those guys. They didn't really know any music theory, However, I love music theory because it gives me a way to explain music better. It gives me a language to talk to other musicians about. And like if I'm making up a song, like I usually let the idea come out of my subconscious first.
Yeah.
But then after that, I can then analyze it using music theory and go, okay, here's all my options.
Yeah.
And then it helps the process. But I think the problem that happens is with music theory doesn't teach you how to make and create music. It teaches you how to analyze it and
Mhm.
maybe help you make sense of this vast, chaotic realm of music.
Understanding the choices and understanding how things work.
Yeah,
The same way that, a carpenter understands the carpet and how a house is made.
yeah.
You learn that stuff, and it doesn't take away creativity.
Well, and you learn
But
that the rules are just objects, and the rules can be used to break the rules.
yes,
They don't really exist.
yes. And Eddie Van Halen is a big one on this. That,
Yeah. What sounds good is good.
uh-huh.
I think he would always say, if it sounds good, it is good.
Yeah. And he will just do like symmetrical stuff that are not in any key.
Yeah. I think he got that from Alan Holdsworth though, didn't he?
I have no idea. You stumped me on that one. Okay.
I think he was listening to a lot of Alan Holdsworth, who does like a lot of symmetrical stuff.
Okay.
And Alan Holdsworth makes no sense to me either. That guy was like a super genius.
He's
his own
like
way of thinking
Coltrane.
of stuff. Yeah.
He's like Coltrane.
I don't think he even liked playing guitar.
He wanted his guitar to sound like Coltrane.
Yeah.
You
know, it's funny. I did an interview of a phone interview of Alan Holdsworth. I someday should find the tape of that. And I was talking to him a little bit about beer because I guess he liked ales.
That's what I hear. I heard he named his kids after beer.
Yeah. He was a very nice guy,
Uh-huh.
very soft spoken, nice guy. It was a nice interview. I'll have to find that cassette tape if it's not corroded by now and put it out on the internet, because it's kind of cool. But that was a pretty cool experience to be able to interview him.
And you talked about beer with Alan Holdsworth.
A little bit. I wanted to be, I wanted to connect with him in some way and not just ask him like, hey man, so like what string gauge did you use?
Yeah.
Because I figure he probably does not want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think I got to
go ahead.
I was going to say, I think I got to interview him, Andy Timmons, this shred guy, not Randy. Yeah, Randy something.
Randy Coven.
No, he's like super shred. I don't remember what his name was. It was all for Greg Howe. I was working with him at that time, doing that book, and they were trying to do like a website with interviews and stuff, and it never like came to fruition. But I remember I was able to interview those guys because of that.
So how was your Berkeley experience? How was Berkeley for you?
Berkeley was wonderful. It was thrilling to go. It was like my lighthouse. Like where I lived in Olympia, Grunge Central, and I knew I wanted to just be like a noodly guitar player. I'd like that stuff. I like noodling.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do that. I did not know how. I didn't have a lot of experience in the music industry. I was not good at networking at that point in my life. So I was like, if I go towards that light where Steve Vai went, something maybe will happen. So I went from Olympia, Washington to Boston by myself. And I remember it was thrilling to go into this city by myself for the first time and be there completely on my own in my own dorm room. I really enjoyed my friends that I made there and the classes and the stuff I saw. But the biggest thing is,
who are some of your classmates? So we would know.
But one guy I would say who went on to do something pretty big was Lionel Lueke.
Oh yeah.
I remember. Yeah, he was. He's I guess signed to Blue Note Records now and toured with like Herbie Hancock.
I saw him with Herbie Hancock.
Yeah, it's You know, it was interesting when I remember there was a rating system at Berkeley, and like you get it, you could get one, which meant you really needed to be there. And then if you got eights, you really don't need to be there. Like there was like 4 different categories.
Mhm.
Lionel had 7, 7, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Like that's him just going there. And I think I had like 4s. So I wasn't bad, but I had some, ways to go on certain
Yeah.
things. I mean, they did not care at all about Eruption. They
Yeah.
cared more that I like played like a Pat Martino solo, but I wasn't like a jazz loving musician like Lionel.
Mhm.
So I remember I was like, oh my God, that guy must be awesome.
Yeah.
And I just I gravitated towards Lionel, and he was such a kind, soft spoken, just nice person.
Mhm.
And we kind of became friends. And I remember I'd go, and I have some different stories about him, but I remember I said to him once, I was like, you're going to take African music, which is like the melody and rhythm are intertwined compared to we separate them here in
Mhm.
in Western culture.
Yeah.
He explained that to me once. And I was like, I think you're going to mix like jazz with, and I'm like, that's going to be your thing. And
Yeah.
that's what he did eventually. You
Mhm.
could tell back then. But I remember one of the biggest things that came out of Berkeley for me was that's where I met Julie, my wife.
Mhm.
And um, I'd pay any amount of money to go back there again for that to happen, because that's made my life in a
Mhm.
sense. Like that was, to me, that's like the biggest thing
Take
I got
away.
out of Berkeley. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember one time Julie and I got to go on Valentine's Day. It was like our first or second date. And Lionel was practicing with Massimo Balacati, who he's the guy who made the Real Book app that you can get on your
Oh,
phone.
all right. Yeah.
Just incredible bass player. Him, Lionel, and then Frank Nemeth, who drummed with Lionel a lot. He does a lot of stuff now. They were rehearsing in one of the classrooms, and
Uh,
all they had on was one of those projectors where you could put the sheet in it
yeah.
and it would project it. And
Uh,
that was the only source of light, and we just got to watch them play. It was the
that
coolest
is
thing.
funny because that is the beginnings of that Real Book app. That was like what
Yeah.
what yeah.
I think Julie, see, I kind of tended to practice. I practiced a lot when I was at Berkeley, whereas Julie, she did her homework and all that stuff, but she spent a little more time networking, which I
Mhm.
should have done,
Same here.
because Berkeley is all about networking. So Julie like knew, John Mayer.
Mhm.
She knew, I forget the person's name. It was a pretty big band. Um, Marcus, the guy, he's the bass player of the Jimmy Fallon show.
Okay.
I mean, she knew all these people, and I only knew like a couple people that went on to do stuff, but I really enjoyed my time there, though. It was
Yeah.
quite an experience, and maybe someday I'll.
Who did you study under?
I don't remember my first teacher's name. My second one was Garrison Fuel,
I
who
had
passed
him.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he was great. I learned a lot from him.
Uh,
I had Mick Goodrick for a little bit.
oh, he's a badass.
Yeah, I don't think I was ready to take full advantage of him though,
You, of
because
course not.
you should know like your triads and scale positions before you even go to him, because
Yeah.
he's more of like a,
He,
once you've learned
Mick
how to
was
play guitar.
Mick wasn't at Berkeley when I was there. Mick would
Yeah,
Mick would he would visit,
yeah.
but
Well, he
Mick,
was definitely there, and he would
yeah,
tell. I felt bad, like I was in one of his classes, and this guy was struggling with something in the class, and all of us were just trying to do our best to avoid making eye contact with Mick, so he wouldn't like be mean to us and like criticize us.
all right.
But this one guy just couldn't. I mean, and Mick was like, I don't think you should be here at Berkeley. I was like, oh my God. Just like so mean, but he'll just tell people outright.
Well, they had that at Millersville too,
Yeah.
where
Some of those
the
teachers
teacher's
though,
job is to don't waste your money. You're not meant for this.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's
But
if you
I
look at like,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you look at like some of the greats came out of being, slapped around a little bit by their
Yep.
teachers. Not like literally, but
Yeah.
like Charlie Parker, his band leader was just like,
Mhm.
oh, you're terrible,
Yeah.
and just kicked him out. And then he
Tommy
practiced for a year and
Tommy
came back.
Tedesco said his teacher said that you were the worst student I ever had. This is Tommy Tedesco, who goes on to play one of the most recorded guitar players who ever lived.
Yeah.
So it's like your time will happen when it happens. I don't make that decision. For me, that's a God choice. Like I'm not going to have that kind of I'm not going to say you're going to be the person who decides whether you do this or not me.
Yeah.
But if
I
you're
mean,
going to do it, get on board.
I think if I had a student that was like 100% going for it and they vibed well with, you really pushing them, I may be like, you could have done that way better.
Mhm.
Like if they didn't practice enough for a show,
Mhm.
I would maybe say to them, you don't sound like you practiced that much for that. That wasn't very good. I may do that
Yeah,
if it was a
you can do
certain
better.
kind of students. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do better.
But what's that movie with the drummer in it?
Whiplash.
You know what I'm talking about.
Whiplash.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And yeah, that's not even an accurate portrayal of the guy. Yeah.
Oh, was he worse?
No, he's better.
Oh.
Hank, what's his name from Towson State University? Supposedly that's who it was based off of.
Oh, wow.
He was a teacher from that big band, taught big band, jazz, composition, all that kind of stuff. And it's Hank Levy.
Mm,
Hank Levy never raised his hand to anybody.
yeah.
Hank Levy is adored.
Wow.
Okay. What, he probably, yeah, that doesn't sell tickets. So you're at Berkeley. Did you start playing with Julie right away?
No, I met Julie, I think the first time I met her actually was at the end of my first semester. No, my first year there. So it was like the second semester. And I remember I was sitting with my friend Kelly, who was a guy. We were sitting in the lunchroom. And at that point, Berkeley was mainly dudes, so like, I think it was like for every one woman that was there was like 8 guys. So
Yeah.
it was pretty bleak at that point, I guess maybe it was good for focusing, but so I remember the lunchroom was kind of empty and I hear this like dolphin or no, it was like a monkey kind of thing, like ooh, ooh, ah, ah. And it sounded authentic. And Julie's like good at mimicking different vocal sounds, like a baby crying and those kind of things. And I turn around and I'm like, was that you? And she's like, no. And that was the first time I met her.
It was her.
And yeah, well, it was her. She was sitting with her friend Candace. And that was about that. Then like on the beginning of the next semester, Julie literally that day had just put out her CD to Dreaming, her first CD. And I'm sitting with my friend Taylor in the cafeteria. And Julie walks in and Taylor's like, hey, you got to meet my friend Julie. And I was like, she looks familiar. And so she sits down and it's like it's a completely different thing. Like we were like getting along. She gave me a CD. And this is the story I tell everybody about where things began for Julie and I. I took her CD and I went back and listened to it in my dorm room. And the first song on that CD is Internal Sky. And it wasn't really the genre I'd normally listen to. It's like kind of more singer-songwriter. But that song, like I could hear Julie in that song. I could hear her, and it like touched something inside of me.
Mhm.
And that's the first time I really kind of realized something about Julie. And so then I saw her again, and we kind of, after meeting a couple times, date. And I mean, I always feel bad because I had a group of friends I hung out with at Berkeley. And the moment I met Julie, her and I were like locked at the hip every day. And I just didn't hang out with any of my friends. And I always feel bad about that. But I think they understand now,
Yeah.
20 some odd years later, that it was something special I found with Julie.
How long did you stay at Berkeley?
I only went there for like 2 years, but I went to Shoreline Community College in Seattle for 2 years before that. So I wanted to get some certain courses out of the way, and then I went to Berkeley for 2 years.
Yeah.
I left though when Julie left because she graduated,
Okay.
and we moved to Harrisburg, and that's how we got there.
All right.
And now we're in Jersey.
You're right.
So I've lived in Olympia, Washington, Colorado, Boston, Harrisburg, now Lebanon, New Jersey. So I've lived in a lot of places. So
when did the Julie Schreiber band start?
That's a good question. There is a distinct way that I became part of that band. It existed before me, obviously. That's the first CD.
Yeah.
But there was someone at Berkeley who was playing guitar, and I remember while I was dating Julie, there was a show coming up in Harrisburg. I think it was for the Millennium Music Conference.
All right.
Or something like that. It was at the second stage at the Whitaker Center.
Okay.
And it was 2 weeks before, and her guitarist just kind of bailed. And she knew I was a guitar player, and she's like, "Hey, do you think you could do it?" And so I learned all the songs, and I played that show.
Mhm.
And that's how it started. And then I was in the Julie Schreiber band ever since. One thing I remember about that show though is I was a little nervous beforehand, and I was like, "Oh, I'll have a couple shots of this vodka here," and not realizing that it would really kick in hardcore. I got on stage. So I get up on stage, and I'm like, "Uh-oh." I'm like way too buzzed to be playing this. I made it through somehow, but I was like, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Plus with Rush.
Oh, I can't. Yeah.
I drink nothing before a show.
I can understand that. Let's talk about Solar Federation. Let's talk about Solar Federation.
Absolutely.
I saw last time I saw you, you were doing moving pictures from beginning to end.
Oh yeah, I think we did Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures on that show.
Okay.
Because I think we know all the songs on a few albums now.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't gotten around to learning all of Hemispheres yet, though.
Yes. Well, get to it. Tell us about that experience. Tell us about that experience, because this is the thing that you're known for in our community. You can cover somebody like nobody's business, because you at times you're better than, and you're going to say shut up, Rod, but in times you're better than the band themselves when they go out and they can't duplicate that.
Hey, shut up, Rod.
You're right. But it's true. That's one of your special talents. I think every guitar player, where is the person talented? There's many different kinds of guitar players, and the thing that you're really able to do that I can't think of a better person at it is the covering. That's covering it. Caress of Steel. What was the song that you did? Something Nowhere at the Bridge, or with the.
Were you thinking of Xanadu or
no? Caress of Steel.
or Lakeside Park. Is that on that album?
Yep. Yeah.
Is it that one
No,
you're thinking of?
it was a slow dirgy song.
Maybe you're thinking of, it's been a while since I played this, but
Yes.
I can't believe I can't remember the name of that song.
Fountain of Lameth or whatever. I don't know. I forget.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of weed was consumed on the making of that album.
Yeah.
But anyway,
on,
it was completely, you had like guitars, like multiple guitars. I think you had an acoustic on a rack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, it's interesting that you point out that whole cover thing, because if we rewind back to what we were talking about at the beginning, when I heard Eddie Van Halen, I really, like, probably at the end of my first year of guitar, I got obsessed with Eddie Van Halen, and I learned all of his songs. And I remember at high school, I was called Eddie because I could just mimic him back then, like, very well, like, and sound almost just like him. And now I look back at that. Well, number one, doing that, like taking on Eruption at the end of my first year of guitar, I couldn't play it at all. But I so badly wanted to be able to play that it accelerated my technique. So like by the end of my second year, I was like really starting to be able to play some stuff. But now I look back and I realize, oh, I kind of have like a talent for mimicking. Like I will listen. I think it just comes down to, I've grown up on everything music. That's all I've ever done. And I can hear all those little intricate things. But I think, other musicians like yourself, you can hear all those things too. I think that I just like doing that. I have a passion for it. I like learning, really digging into a player's style and basically absorbing their soul.
Yeah,
I'm a soul eater.
We taught side by side for years, and through the walls, I'm listening to you doing Little Wing.
Yeah.
Like note for note, like it were a classical piece. And that is kind of like, I have to wonder how much of your mom is influencing you.
Yeah, it is very classical. Exactly.
It's absolutely classical, the way you approached it.
You're trying to interpret what the composer did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still enjoy that to this day. Like at this point with Alex Lifeson, I want to understand, how did he really get those tones? Where is he playing it on the guitar? But I also think it's in the way I memorize. I will start at the beginning of a piece and like just get like the first few measures down, listening to the vibrato, all that stuff. But I don't know. I think I just enjoy doing it. And I have a talent for it. But I'm at a point in my life where I still like doing that anyways. But I do want to get some of my own stuff out there and really coin it a unique style, which I think I can do. I just think I spent more time
working on others
on that, and I think.
So what is Solar Federation doing now? You're doing some really cool shows and really cool opportunities.
It's interesting. Solar Federation, I think we have a good chemistry. We all like come in, everything is learned. Oh, sorry. Julie's saying there's been no video to watch. Are we live?
No.
Oh, okay, then good.
Yeah.
She thought she could watch it live, but anyways, where was I?
Solar Federation.
Oh yeah, what we're doing now. Number one, I think there's a good chemistry. I think that the four of us really like playing with each other, but we all show up to practice and we know how to play the song. It's just more of gelling together. And we're all, I don't know, we all just kind of have this, it's like a marriage, where we all, we annoy each other sometimes, I'm sure. I'm sure I don't annoy anybody. Everybody likes me, but joking, of course. But we all just kind of know what to do, and we do it, and we know we enjoy it, and I think we got a good chemistry. And so at this point, now that we're about 5 years into it, you know, we've gotten much better at playing the songs, tones. I know, I think I've enhanced my performance abilities a little bit. We built up a little bit of a fan base of, you know, Rush fans and such. And I think now we're starting to get more well known. So we're getting some better gigs. Like we just played at the Elks Club in Ephrata, which I know it's an Elks Club.
You were with AC/DC tribute band.
Yeah, and I mean, it was fun, and the people, there was like 500 such people there, and they all enjoyed it and were complimenting, and that was a lot of fun. But then also like playing at XL Live. I mean, I don't think people realize how cool XL Live in Harrisburg is.
Yeah.
That place is like probably the most professional, top level venue.
It's now a destination.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. So there, and I think we're getting some nicer gigs, you know, and kind of branching out a little bit more. Like we played in Pittsburgh, you know, stuff like that. But of course, we've got the Neil Peart Memorial in I think it's called A Night for Neil. That's supposed to be in Canada. That was originally supposed to be in 2020 in I think it was May. Yeah, I think it was May of 2020, and then the pandemic happened, and then it got rescheduled to October of that year, and then got rescheduled again to April of this year, and then got rescheduled to November. I think it's going to get rescheduled one more time, but I don't know, because I don't know if the Canadian border will be open by November.
Okay.
But that is going to be, I could probably, well, I don't think I could die after that, but I'll be pretty satisfied.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to even be close to a part of something that is actually like part of Rush, like Neil Peart's memorial with his family and all those fans there to appreciate him, to be able to be part of that honor, you know, be a tribute band there is, I'm a little terrified of it, but also I think it's cool as hell, and I want to bring it.
Fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
Now it's time to manifest all that hard work is leading to something. Good energy.
I don't think I've ever played in an arena before, so that'll be pretty cool. So hopefully that happens either at the end of this year or sometime next year. So that's pretty cool. But things seem to be growing, and I mean, in Solar Federation, we just enjoy playing Rush. That's the main thing. And Rush fans are a lot of fun. They're very passionate, and if you bring your game, even if you screw up a little bit, they realize that Rush makes mistakes every once in a while, and we can at least make a couple more than Rush.
Yeah,
you'll still be okay.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. You don't. That's
yeah.
So one more thing. Let's talk quickly about Awaken. This is was it a progressive rock?
It's prog metal, so it's kind of in the Dream Theater realm.
Okay.
But I always thought Awaken sounded kind of like a mix of Iron Maiden, Queensryche, and Dream Theater.
Okay.
What was your question?
My favorite Dream Theater sounds like Queensryche.
I love Queensryche though.
Yeah.
That is some cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
Especially that Empire album. But yeah, Awaken, I remember I went to Progstock, which is in New Jersey, and my friend Rob, you probably know Rob Russ, yeah. He introduced me to this guy named Andrew Collier, who's like a really good keyboardist and actually a chiropractor. It's like you went to Juilliard and are a chiropractor. That's insane. But but anyways, I met him, just a good soul, really good guy. And I was telling him, yeah, I'm in New Jersey. I'm looking for stuff to do. And so he talks to Glenn, the leader of Awaken. And then, I talked to Glenn, and Glenn sends me the album that were just about to release. And I listened to it. I'm like, I think I could enjoy playing this stuff. I mean, it was like noodly guitar, like metal distortion,
Mhm.
groovy rock metal stuff.
Mhm.
And the songs were very well written, and Glenn's got an amazing voice. And it was really all the stuff that I would want in like an album. So then I learned the songs, and we played our first show in New York.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened. And that's the only show I played so far. And we've kind of been in, doing
Limbo.
other things the whole time. And
Yeah.
I think we're working on another album. Awaken did get signed to Pure Steel Records in November
Okay.
of last year, but it's still like we're kind of just getting out of the cave now of COVID. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm getting together actually with Glenn this Friday, I think, to work on new songs for the
Mhm.
next CD. So
Okay.
I'll definitely be on the next CD, but that's what's going on with Awaken. And I think we made a really cool video where we got to go to an abandoned, huge, insane asylum or mental hospital
Yeah,
in
like
Kings
the old
Park.
Anthrax video.
Yeah,
The-
that was cool though. Like
yeah.
it was really creepy and cool. And we actually went behind the fence once, which you're not supposed to.
Mhm.
And we got thrown out by a police officer. She was nice though. But we just did that because there was a good shot back there.
Mhm.
But that was cool. And I mean, so things are kind of starting to awaken with
Awaken, yeah.
at this point.
Are you
Yeah.
teaching more virtually now? If people want to sign up for lessons?
I'm teaching only virtually right now, and I'm kind of, probably later this year I'll start to
Mhm.
go back to normal. I'm just figure I'd give it time for people
Okay.
to get vaccinated and for the
World to
for
catch
the
up.
yeah, exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, thank you,
But
Eric. We ran out of time. You will have your
thank you.
video. This will be guitar nerds out there. This is the first video we had that was not taped live to Facebook.
Yeah.
So please like and subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it to 50 of your closest friends. And
Yes.
Eric Wirsing, thank you.
Hey, we need to support what you're doing because
Yeah.
you're tying things together, people and the community and
Yep. So I
know.
interviewed. You were talking about Millennium Music Conference and XL. I interviewed John Harris a couple weeks ago.
Really? You
Yeah.
interviewed John?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like keep doing what you're doing, and it's in the description here. I will, if they want to study with you, I will put your info in the description. All righty,
I
Eric.
appreciate that, man. And let
All
me know
right.
if I can do anything, to help as
Yeah,
well.
we'll be doing stuff.
Get the word out.
Yeah, we'll be doing stuff.
Absolutely.
Yep. All righty. Thank you so much. See you then.
Bye, everybody, and bye, Rod.
See ya.